Good evening, family.
Peace and blessings, family, and welcome. It is I, King Obadele, also known as King Teasdell, giver and receiver of a deeper wisdom. I honor the divine in you and those who have come before us and those not yet actualized. Here, beside me is my beloved wife,
Arlene Kahet. Kahet means purifying light of God. And today we are going to do our reading of the prophet. We're going to actually start from the beginning and read up to that read through that first part, and then start with our next point where we are going to talk about pain.
Yes, Kahlil Gibran had brought pain to our attention. It is page 52 in our book, which is interesting because 52 is a pretty interesting number. It's the exit for you to reach Baltimore City, deep in the heart of it. 52 was the number that Ray Lewis has as a Raven, one of the most popular Ravens in the Baltimore team. And 52 is the new mayor that is going to be inducted. I think he's already inducted. He's inducted already.
He's already been
for Baltimore, one of the youngest mayors we've had, and we wish him great success. We also come to recognize that there has been many people who, over the past few months, have suffered great losses in their family. We wish to give our condolences in regards to that. I know personally that one of my aunts had just passed within the last 2 months. Matter of fact, there was 4 deaths in our family just this month alone.
Yep.
And not to speak of those before that. So I think it might have been a total of 10 deaths easily within the last 6 months. But we are grateful and blessed. None of those deaths were COVID related. Yet there's many who have died from the COVID pandemic, which we send our deepest condolences. And we shall begin, for this is the portion today of pain, and we want to go as deep as possible within the pain aspect thereof within the hour that we are blessed to share with you all. The beginning of the reading we do on occasion because there are many who may be new to our sharing and may not have captured the beginning, but there has been a variety of chapters that has been shared, and every so often we come back to the beginning so that you can capture at least that. But please feel free to go deeper into the Facebook page and capture some of the ones that we've already recorded.
Also, you can find some of the recordings on the YouTube channel Healing Paradigms.
Really? Oh wow, we got that. Great. So. Yes.
Okay, alright. So, Al-Mustafa, the chosen and the beloved, who was a dawn unto his own day, had waited 12 years in the city of Orphalese for his ship that was to return and bear him back to the isle of his birth. And in the 12th year, on the 7th day of Elihu, the month of reaping, he climbed the hill without the city walls and looked seaward. And he beheld his ship coming with the mist. The gates of his heart were flung open, and his joy flew far over the sea. And he closed his eyes and prayed in the silences of his soul. But as he descended the hill, a sadness came upon him, and he thought in his heart,
How shall I go in peace and without sorrow? Nay, not without a wound in my spirit shall I leave this city. Long were the days of pain I have spent within its walls, and long were the nights of aloneness. And who can depart from his pain and his aloneness without regret? Far too many fragments of the spirit have I scattered in these streets, and too many are the children of my longing that walk naked amongst these hills, and I cannot withdraw from them without a burden and an ache. It is not a garment I cast off this day, but a skin that I tear with my own hands. Nor is it a thought I leave behind me, but a heart made sweet with hunger and with thirst. Yet I could not tarry longer. The sea that calls all things unto her calls me, and I must embark. For to stay, though the hours burn in the night, is to freeze and crystallize, and be bound in a mold. Vain would I take with me all that is here, but how shall I? A voice could not carry the tongue, and the lips that gave it wings. Alone must it seek the ether, and alone and without his nest shall the eagle fly across the sun.
Now when he reached the foot of the hill, he turned again towards the sea, and he saw his ship approaching the harbor. And upon her prow the mariners, the men of his own land. And his soul cried out to them, and he said, Sons of my ancient mothers, you riders of the tides.
He did what?
And he said,
Sons of my ancient mother, you riders of the tides, how often have you sailed in my dreams? And now you come in my awakening, which is my deeper dream. Ready am I to go, and my eagerness with full sails set await the wind. Only another breath will I breathe in this still air, only another loving look cast backward, and then I shall stand among you, a seafarer amongst seafarers. And you, vast sea, sleepless mother, who alone are peace and freedom to the river and the streams. Only another winding will this stream make, only another murmur in this glade. And then shall I come to you, a boundless drop to a boundless ocean.
And as he walked, he saw from afar men and women leaving their fields and their vineyards and hastening towards the city gates. And he heard their voices calling his name and shouting from field to field, telling one another of the coming of his ship. And he said to himself,
Shall the day of parting be the day of gathering? And shall it be said that my eve was in truth my dawn? And what shall I give unto him who has left his plough in mid-furrow, or to him who has stopped the wheel of his winepress? In my country, I may gather and give unto them. And shall my desires flow like a fountain, that I may fill their cups? Am I a harp, that the hand of the mighty may touch me, or a flute, that his breath may pass through me? A seeker of silences am I, and what treasure have I found in silences, that I may dispense with confidence? If this is my day of harvest, in what fields have I sowed the seed, and in what unremembered seasons? If this indeed be the hour in which I lift up my lantern, it is not my flame that shall burn within. Empty and dark shall I raise my lantern, and the guardian of the night shall fill it with oil, and he shall light it also.
You don't have it marked there. Yeah, how am I supposed to know if you don't have it marked there?
I'll hunt you. I'll hunt you.
Got you. These things he said in words, but much in his heart remained unsaid. For he himself could not speak his deeper secret. And when he entered into the city, all the people came to meet him, and they were crying out to him as with one voice. And the elders of the city stood forth and said, Go not yet from us. A noontide have you been in our twilight, and your youth has given us dreams to dream. No stranger are you among us, nor a guest, but our son and our dearly beloved. Suffer not yet our eyes to hunger for your face.
Go ahead, wait.
And the priest and the priestess said unto him, Let not the waves of the sea separate us now, and the years you have spent in our midst become a memory. You have walked among us as a spirit, and your shadow has been a light upon our faces. Much have we loved you, but speechless was our love, and the veils has it been veiled. Yet now it cries aloud unto you, and would stand revealed before you. And even has it been that love knows not its own depth until the hour of separation.
Okay, so try it again.
Yeah. Which part?
Let's say, yet now.
Yet now it cries aloud unto you, and would stand revealed before you. And ever has it been the love knows not its own depth until the hour of separation.
I'll read this part for you. And others came also and entreated him, but he answered them not. He only bent his head. And those who stood near saw his tears falling upon his breast. And he and the people proceeded towards the great square before the temple. And there came out of the sanctuary a woman whose name was Almitra, and she was a seeress. And he looked upon her with exceeding tenderness, for it was she who had first sought and believed in him when he had been but a day in their city. And she hailed him, saying,
Prophet of God, in quest of the uttermost long have you searched the distances for your ship. And now your ship has come, and you must needs go. Deep is your longing for the land of your memories, and the dwelling place of your greater desires. And our love would not bind you, nor our needs hold you. Yet, this we ask ere you leave us, that you speak to us and give us your truth. And we will give it unto our children, and they unto their children, and it shall not perish. In your aloneness you have watched with our days, and in your wakefulness you have listened to the weeping and the laughter of our sleep. And now therefore disclose us to ourselves, and tell us all that has been shown to you of that which is between birth and death. And he answered,
People of Orphalese, of what can I speak save of that which is even now moving within your souls? We're going to pause right there, because one of the reasons why I enjoy bringing this first part is because I've been in a play or two. How about you, Arlene?
I did practice, family. I did. I promise you I did.
And we've read this section several times before. The thing that impresses me about this, especially now, is I'm about to embark upon a new venture of which I need your prayers. And I know that many of my family members are aware that I have received my certification as a spiritual life coach. And to embark upon that is a blessing. Yet, the blessing is to allow Spirit to speak through you as you are connecting to others. And you feel what they feel and guide them into understanding what feeling does, and how feeling moves, and how we are moved by feeling, and how our feeling moves our environment. And in so doing, we can change the world. I've been a paramedic many years in the city of Baltimore, and I've been amongst the people for many, many years. And each house of which I go into, I treat them as family, because I know that one of my golden rules is to treat others as you would like to be treated. And I carry that deep within my heart in all things of which I do, because I've been blessed to know love. Even in those hours of my life of which I felt I was abandoned, I was blessed to receive love from the one source of which all love comes. And then the manifestation of that love comes, and I have found my wife of now 4 years, which we feel as though we've been together much longer than that. It's like we've known one another for such a long time, in familiarity, because there's a commonality and a compatibility that was difficult for me to find in my journey of many years gone. And as I listened and we have shared with one another, she has also said the same. Have you not, my dear?
Yes. He just says it so poetically, doesn't he? Hi, Michael Campbell.
What's up, Michael? Blessings. Thank you for showing up. Michael, we like to bless you, man, because you keep appearing here, and I'm feeling that we are giving to you a plus. And I want to let you know, to see your name pop up as often as it does fills my heart with joy.
We definitely appreciate you.
And I know you got a good spirit too, man, because we work together. He's one of my people from the fire department. So I think he knows what I'm expressing when I read the beginning of this book and we talk about how you spent years with these people and you have shared with these people. I remember a time to where there was a call that we received of a man who had a stroke, and he showed all the symptoms thereof, and we immediately jumped to action. But the family wanted to get him prepared for going to the hospital, but they had a spiritual side of them that needed prayer. And like I say, I treat everyone as I would like to be treated. And because of the request of prayer, we prayed with them. And they went to get things together because they wanted to gather up so they could go to the hospital with this man who had one side of his body that was affected by the stroke. And on the TV top, because they had television stations or a TV set that kind of looked like a piece of furniture. On there was a poem from Marianne Williamson that Mandela used in his inaugural speech. And it gave me enough time to read that. And one of the things I remember of that poem, it says, "You playing small does not serve the world." And it hit me like a ton of bricks. I was like, wow. And I mentioned to them that I was moved by that poem. And they said they'd make sure that they would get a copy of it to me, and they did. The amazing thing about that particular incident is when we got to the hospital, the man which we prayed for, who showed clearly the symptoms of a stroke, of which one side of his body was not functioning, did not exhibit those symptoms when he arrived at the hospital. They were gone. And to look at the faces of the doctors and the nurses as we're explaining this situation that is not a situation anymore was kind of peculiar. But there's a medical term called TIA, which is trans ischemic attack, which gives the signs and symptoms of having a stroke, which means that the oxygen that the brain would have normally received was diminished in such a way to where the functionality of that left side or that right side of the brain made the person disabled for a brief time. So between the medical definition and knowing that prayer changes things, I stand in the midst of the two, and I choose that the prayer was what brought the healing. So hence me entering into this aspect of being a spiritual life coach. And I've developed an organization called the Souls of Life Society, and you can find me on www.kingsphilosophy.org. With that being said, I'm entering into a new dimension of which I have created through spirit a theory called Kingology. Therefore, I am a Kingologist. And I am going to start teaching people to also be Kingologists. Because the world appears to be losing the flavor of what the service a true king provides to the people. For a king watches out for the people. A king is the moral standard of the people. And the integrity of a king should flow to the people. And the compassion and the love of God should be what we all share in such a way to where when we see one another, we smile. We see one another, there's a joy, a sense of respect and honor, because we honor the God in you. One of the terms we often use, my wife and I, is namaste. And it's a Sanskrit term, which is an ancient language, which translates as, the divine in me honors the divine in you. That's so when we begin our program, we say that through the one in whom we live, move, and have our being, we are Arlene and King, giver and receiver of a deeper wisdom, and we honor the divine in you and those who have come before us, and those not yet actualized. Because the spirit of truth is a key component to the virtues that are necessary for the proper balance which brought all things into creation. And those virtues are truth, harmony, order, right thinking, reciprocity, righteousness, balance, compassion, propriety. And all of these compose the aspects of what love should be. And when we all start speaking this language, and then we would have lies removed out of our equation, we would have corruption no longer be a part of this uncertainty that many wake every morning with, because then we would have the faith and confidence in knowing that all will be well. With this being said, we shall continue with our reading. So I guess it's incumbent upon me to go forth. Okay. And we're gonna stop. We're gonna do one more pause for the cause, because as I was reading this, some words came to me that, if you don't know, I am a poet, and I wrote a book called The Extraordinary Epiphanies of a King, and the words come through me, and I put them in script, and in so doing, I've discovered that it's almost as if I am being used as a vessel to pour something out onto page, because I come back and read the stuff, and I'll be like, wow, that was great, let's read it again. So let us begin.
And a woman spoke, saying, tell us of pain. And he said,
your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. I'm going to read that part again. Your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding. Even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. And you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over the fields. And you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. I think I'm going to read that whole section again with me.
Okay.
All right. And he said, your pain is the breaking of the shell that encloses your understanding, even as the stone of the fruit must break, that its heart may stand in the sun, so must you know pain. And could you keep your heart in wonder at the daily miracles of your life, your pain would not seem less wondrous than your joy. and you would accept the seasons of your heart, even as you have always accepted the seasons that pass over your fields, and you would watch with serenity through the winters of your grief. Wow. There's much more, but I want to embark upon what Spirit led me to feel. It says pain. Pain comes in many levels. Pain comes. And it must. Hey, Edna. Pain comes in many levels. You can move that over there to you. And it must, because pain is a part of life. It is the breaking of the shell that allows the fruit to come of the seed that was once inside the fruit, that now is heavy from the weight of the earth upon it, that must break open to seek that light of the sun to be nurtured. So frustration is pain, disappointment, dissatisfaction. That ouch is pain. Pain is simply the removal of comfort. So when you're comfortable, your comfort has no pain, oftentimes. So pain is the removal of comfort. Simply put, when you are no longer comfortable, you are at some level of pain. What is pain? Generally, pain is something we don't like, but we put up with it until we don't like it at all. Then we speak up. Until we can't take it anymore. And then we stand and do something, only to seek another level of comfort. Some pain we just live with. When you are uncomfortable, you can live in this discomfort and be satisfied, because then that place of being uncomfortable is not a place that you could not stand to bear. So we step down to bearable pain, but uncomfortable in this place of being uncomfortable becomes our disposition, our character, and our mood. So why am I so often happy? Is because I am one who likes the mindset that Paul had. And it kind of goes like, I can be content in my discomfort, or I can be content in my discontent. It is to sometimes, when you say something like that, to be content in my discontent is to find an excuse not to do something that you're discontented about. Sometimes, but not always. An example for me is brutality. And I remember years ago, I came into looking at a news broadcast. And when I looked at this news broadcast, it was around the time where there was an issue with immigration, and there was a horde of immigrants entering into this country in the California area, I believe. And what was odd about that was, as I was looking at this broadcast, they were using what's called a water cannon or fire hoses, spraying these people. I mean, this was less than 10 years ago. I'm not talking about the 1960s. I'm talking about less than 10 years ago. And I was appalled. And I was like, Mom, do you see this? They're using the tactics they used back in the 60s on people. And if you know what water is like, water does not compress. So the power of that force will knock a person down to the ground. It'll rip their clothes off. But I was astonished. But you know what was really crazy for me is they never broadcast that again. It disappeared. And I was like, no one is reporting that they use water cannons, because they recognize how cruel they were. So I looked and I saw that water cannons are used against people of color. But then I found that there was, I think it was 2019, these water cannons was used in Russia on the Russian people. And it was the police had the cannon on their vehicle. They had a big truck that looked like those who are, hey Rock, how you doing? All right, those who are in the fire department know there's like a truck we had that was called the 414.
Hi, Nicole.
Hey, Nicole.
Hi, Wanda.
Hey, Wanda. And there's another truck that we have that's called the rescue unit. But they're large body trucks. And they were using the water cannon then. But then I looked and I saw again in November 2016, they used water cannons also with the protest of the access to the pipeline in sub-freezing temperatures against the Indians there, or the indigenous people, who felt as though they protect the water, because they didn't want those pipelines to go through the water because of the danger of the leak. And with the Indian reservations, the Sioux Nation, this is their source. And it was just appalling to see these things happening and identifying that this was happening. So when I saw this, I was pissed. But what is it could I have done? So pain comes in many levels. And if for no other reason, we need to learn from the pain of the past so we don't repeat the pain that could be inflicted on those of the future. I have my grandchildren's pictures on my wall here, and I look at them often for inspiration, because I need to do what I can to make the future a better place for them to live. And their generation and the generation that comes after them, and so forth and so on. So to see that sort of activity still being utilized in today's time, come on, people, what's up with that? So pain comes in many levels. The key is to understand that the learning comes through the pain. Because there's a song that I play on my Blog Talk Radio program every so often. It says, "Pain made me a believer." You know what I'm talking about, right?
Yeah, Imagine Dragons, just so you know, family.
The name of the group is Imagine Dragons? Mm-hmm. Yeah, pain makes me a believer. A believer.
So, what I will say, I have, the thought that came to mind when I read this was that one of the things that some spiritual texts have talked about is how human beings that those feelings of pain that we have are there to evolve us. That there is a thought. It could be on several levels. It could be a thought. It could be a behavior. There is something that we are doing that is facilitating the pain because it's indicating a place in which you need to change.
Or at least give attention to.
Or give attention to. I mean, be it, and it doesn't seem to, my thought is, it doesn't seem to matter whether or not it's physical or emotional. It means that it needs attention. A friend of mine called me up, and she was experiencing some type of physical difficulty, and
and she wasn't laughing that the friend was having physical difficulties.
I'm not.
Just so you know.
No, I'm not laughing at that. I'm just, I'm just reflecting on the fact that I'm the person that she ends up calling.
See, now she got me laughing because she didn't say that part before.
Yes.
Okay.
Which
is a good thing.
I mean, well.
For you, it was.
Okay.
She may not have thought about it at the time that it was a good thing. I'm just saying. My thought is, if I'm experiencing some type of physical difficulty, I'm going to be going to somebody to tell me, take me to the doctor, take me to the ER, whatever the case may be. I'm not necessarily calling up anybody else asking them for a physical assessment, but that's the interesting thing, because we spoke of the levels of pain.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Mm-hmm. And so she wasn't at the level of pain to where she couldn't stand it anymore, because then she would have bounced, right?
I don't know.
Well, continue.
But anyway, my thought is, I did do
energetic assessment.
Energetic assessment, and I let her know this is what I'm seeing, and if the question that you want me to ask is whether or not you should see somebody, you should see somebody. Like, it was severe enough where I heard a yes. But mind you, let's just say that guidance that I operate with, they're just matter of fact. They don't have a whole lot of emotion to the way they disseminate information. So it turns out that it was far serious. It was a very serious and almost sort of life-threatening type of thing.
And so something that she definitely needed to address, and she wanted to find out from you if by chance it was necessary to address it. And you had to slap her in the head and say, "Come on, girl. Yeah, you need to address it." There's some people like that.
Apparently, but I suppose, again, it's not, me, I'm quick. please take me to the doctor. If it's I know this. Let's just put it this way: be in touch with yourself well enough to know whether or not it's something that is a nagging pain. Maybe you sprain your ankle. It's a sprained ankle. You figure that you'll be able to live with that.
Well, she's consulted with me on several occasions, of which she didn't run to the doctor, and I was Dr. Feelgood, and I helped her out. So we made things happen on this side of the equation. So every time she has a pain, it's not that she really runs off to the doctor. I mean, unless you consider me to be a doctor. I am a doctor of love, true.
Let's just say that I've assessed the discomfort enough to say, hey, can you help me out here?
Yeah.
But anyway, that aside, whatever it is, there is something that is requiring attention, and there is a school of thought that any physical manifestation of any type of discomfort, be it emotional, physical, whatever the case may be, it is looking for your attention. There is something. Your body is giving you a signal. Your emotions are giving you a signal. Your emotions are giving you a signal, and it doesn't seem to matter whether or not it's physical, non-physical, or whatever the case may be. You have concerns about your relationship, and you have pain in regards to the relationship. It could be a thing where it is just your mental perception of that relationship, or it could be that inner guidance system within yourself saying, "Girl," or "Man, you need to leave," or it doesn't matter where that is coming from. So, and it's looking for your growth and your expansion, and there is that guidance, be it physical or emotional. It is leading you in the direction of your highest vibrational choice. It's looking for the highest choice for you to make.
And I want to add here that, like we spoke earlier, pain comes in a variety of levels, and it's contingent on your comfort. Now, here's the caveat. You can be comfortable and rest in your conscience of comfort, but when it comes time for you to move out of your comfort zone, because the growth and development has manifested, the growth that she was just speaking of is now upon you. What we just spoke of in the book with the seed, you have to now break out of this shell, this place of comfort, and now you have to be exposed to things that you may feel you're not ready for. Now you are in a place of discomfort. Yet, the mindset of pain is still there, and you are now trying to navigate as to whether you should take action or not.
And please don't ignore it, be it physical or emotional.
Because even with a pain of being in your comfort zone, and knowing that you have to move out of your comfort zone to step into a new arena of living life, well, then step into that new arena. Think outside of the box. Allow yourself to expand, because divine operation is always about expansion and fuller expression, which means the production of something that has not gone before, something entirely new, not included in the past experience, but proceeding out of it by an orderly sequence of growth. And we notice that many people are on, especially in these days and time, talks about how they're making all of this money because they decided that they wanted to do this, that, or what have you. And it's all built on them stepping out of their comfort zone. Steve Harvey has a lot of YouTube videos that, and motivational speakers have videos out here that expresses exactly that they had to step out of their comfort zone. And fear is one of the greatest things that can produce pain. Will Smith talks about a situation where they was just kidding around about jumping out of an airplane, and he started saying that, yeah, we can do that. And so they said, well, we're going to go tomorrow. And then he was like, but what? And so he was hoping that they were going to cancel because the fear started coming. And when fear comes, fear produces a sense of being uncomfortable. And when your place of discomfort kicks in to such a level to where you're like, I don't think I want to do this. It was too late. Because now he was between this and that. And he ended up having to go into the plane. He got in the plane. He's getting all nervous. He jumps in the plane. He goes with the people. He goes up in the air. And he's like, man, this is like, there's no turning back, right? And so there they go, jumping out the plane. And he was like, oh, Lord, here we go. So, okay, so this is the jump. And he goes to jump out the plane. And he said, all of a sudden, the feeling that he received, the pain went away. It was gone. The pain of fear was gone. And there was a contentment and an exhilaration that he never experienced before. And he's a jump out the plane junkie now. I mean, he got his wife doing it now. He got a whole bunch of people doing it. But what he said in this was sometimes your greatest experience of life is on the other side of fear. Something to consider.
Mm-hmm.
So, I matter of fact, I jumped out the plane the other day. I am going to do my Kingology, and I'm going to produce it and get a course up and running in regards to it. Kingology is awakening through alternate sight. What that means is when you see things through a different lens, things become so much clearer. I'm just saying.
Yes, they do.
So.
And the reason for not ignoring the pain is because it becomes bigger. And so instead of a dull ache, it turns into something even more massive.
Oh, yes, that's right. And that's something to stay mindful of.
Yeah, and even emotional pain. Don't ignore that, because that could manifest into a physical illness. Anyway, moving forward.
We'll continue the reading. And I'll take the stanza that we ended with and move into the rest of the reading. And would you accept the seasons of your heart, even as you would always have accepted the seasons that pass over your fields? And would you watch with serenity through the winters of your grief? Much of your pain is self-chosen. Arlene just mentioned that. It is the bitter portion. It is the bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen, and the cup he brings, though it burn your lips, has been fashioned of the clay which the potter has moistened with his own sacred tears.
So let's qualify something. So when he talks about a physician, he's not necessarily talking about an MD. It could be that, but it's not necessarily that.
Well, he did say, the physician within you heals your sick self.
Mm-hmm.
So much of your pain is self-chosen, which means that we are creatures of free will. And sometimes our choosing puts us in a place that prepares a bitter potion by which the physician within you heals your sick self. You know some of the things you did was sick. You know it. All right? And when you got yourself caught up in that, what did you do? You had to take that bitter pill, didn't you? But you learned from it. That's what that verse is about. Therefore, trust the physician and drink his remedy in silence and tranquility. So quit complaining about it. I was going to use a different term, but we don't speak like that here. So quit complaining about it, because you brought it on yourself. You created your own reality. Now learn from that, because you didn't lose. You came to learn so that you can win.
Mm-hmm.
For his hand, though heavy and hard, is guided by the tender hand of the unseen. What are you about to say?
So I'm going to give a for instance. So I have been carrying around some what could be best called childhood trauma for over 40 some odd years. And what, let's just say the practice that I use, the practice that I used was the use of crystals. And of course, like many of the traumas that we have are like centered, especially when we're young, are sort of centered in the root chakra, because it's about our foundation. And the particular stone that I used at the time, or the two stones that I used, were the black obsidian and the rose quartz. And what happened was, when, in my musings, I do sit down and just, reflect. And in my musings, what I recognized was that my childhood self may not have gotten all of the love that she felt that she had deserved. But looking back, on it, I recognized as I got older that my family members showed love in their own way. And it manifests in different ways that the childhood self could not recognize. And so it really came down to just accepting that my family are who they are. They all show love in their own way, in different ways. It may not have necessarily been what I may have needed, but it is what it is. And when I came to that place of just sort of turning the switch off of that, it felt like an emotional boulder had been taken off. And mind you, I have been working on this type of thing for a while, so this was just like, seemed to have been like the last layer. And as a result of it, I had noticed changes in how people were, in their reception of me, or my perceived reception of me, that I did take notice of after that work was done. And so, again, that pain that I had been experiencing since childhood was always looking to get attention. And I do spend a lot of time working on just getting myself into a place of addressing those things that concern me, and continually praying on it. And at some point, it just seems that if I give enough attention to it, the answer does come through.
Because we are energy beings. Just want to make sure that we address that. And there's energy all around us. We oftentimes don't recognize it, but electromagnetic energies can be transferred from energies without even being touched. Induction, through the process of induction. And so positive energies, negative energies, they're all around us. And we oftentimes can absorb energies, and without knowing, these energies can attach to us, and then we carry these energies with us, not being aware that there's a need for a shift. So people will cleanse crystals so that they're free of any attachments of energy, so that the crystal itself can pull and draw negative energies that you may have been exposed to, and relieve you of the discomfort that you may have been living with for several years. So, with that being said,
and just know that especially when it comes to releasing pain in regards to forgiveness, when you get into that place of truly forgiving, that being in that non-forgiving state actually blocks your blessings.
Yeah, it hinders the flow of energy. Mm-hmm. So there is that which is flow, and that which is resistance. And you have to understand the circle of life is a process which requires circulation. That which does not circulate can become stagnant, and that which becomes stagnant can begin to stink and become foul. And then thus we have people who walk this planet with foul mentalities and negative behaviors, because the resistance has the greater influence over them, and they're not flowing in the divine as they ought. So, with that being said, we thank you all for attending our discussion on Kahlil Gibran's Tell Us of Pain. Next week we will enter into, we'll be meeting next week, right? Well, it says it speaks to us of self-knowledge. It seems logical that we should speak on that matter. Because we're coming into the new year, the solstice is actually upon us, which people look at that as the renewal of life, because even though it opens the door to winter, of which everything goes to sleep, the sun has no longer diminished in its hours given to us, for that is the longest night, and it opens to us the dawning of the new days, and then our days become longer after the winter solstice. that day in and of itself is the day of the longest night. Now imagine, if you will, back in primitive time to where man saw that light was diminishing and not being scientifically aware. Would you not think that eventually there would be no more light and then you would be left in total darkness? Isn't that something to be afraid of? Inquiring minds would like to know. But when they see this turnaround, which we all can do with our own lives, there's a renewal. And that's what the winter solstice represents. So renew your life, move forward. It's a blessing that the new year comes shortly thereafter, and we celebrate New Year's as that renewal point, resolution, change. So allow your spirit to evolve as we move into a newness, because 2020, many have said, gave them a different sight, and it wasn't perfect. So, 2020 is supposed to be perfect sight. Well, if you open your eyes for real, you'll see that you see things differently.
Mm-hmm.
That's why King's philosophy has brought to you Kingology, awakening through alternate sight. With that, we thank you all. We wish you a happy holidays, as we know this week we will be celebrating the Christmas. Oh, that's on a Friday. Wow, that's great. I can party. I ain't going nowhere. COVID out there. But with that, Arlene's going to close us out, and we give you all love. Thank you so much for allowing us to share with you all.
And we love you. We bless you. We appreciate you. We thank God for you. And we know that wherever you are, God is.
Love.
Bye, family.
Namaste.